Now, the last time there were elections that were happening, I came to you guys to explain that, wow, there were 5 wins in a single day for the Justice Democrats. And, just sort of contextualize this, I guess. I had talked about the Justice Democrats when they were originally founded, when they were first actually founded and created. And I personally could never have actually foreseen, and I didn't foresee this much success coming from the Justice Democrats. This level of success for coming from the Justice Democrats is truly one that is very surprising and 100% something I could not have expected or foreseen in the past. There's no way, because the unbelievable amount of success that we've seen, honestly, I wasn't even sure if they were going to get one congressional member in. But obviously, not only do they already have 3 incumbents who are people who are already, seated in Congress, but they've already had people who have won their primaries and either are in very solid Democratic districts or are going to run unopposed. So we automatically know they're going to have more than just one. So it's something that's, really crazy to think about, because when it first started, I was like, man, even if they could get one representative, that would be huge. But, the last time I came to you guys to talk about it, I came and I said, hey, man, they won 5 elections, which is huge. 5 entire elections, and there was a lot of progress made in other elections as well. El Sayed came very close in his election too. He got 35%, which is a pretty big chunk in the race that he was in. And most importantly, what's really crazy is I would have never, ever pictured or had imagined, I didn't, the Justice Democrats literally making history. They actually had made history. One of their candidates, Rashida Tlaib, she is, I believe, running unopposed in the general election. And she will be the first Muslim woman elected ever to Congress. So they had already made history. Now, we just had more elections, so I'm here to talk about this once again. Now, I got an email from the Justice Democrats because I'm part of their email list. Here's what they sent. They said, I know it's late, but I couldn't wait until morning to tell you all the results from today's primary elections are in, and we won big for all of our Justice Democrats campaigns in Wisconsin 1, Minnesota 5, and the Vermont gubernatorial. And then they, go on to talk about more, and they're trying to, drive for more donations to be able to push their candidates. Now, this is huge. They literally won 3 out of 3. So, Randy Bryce won in Wisconsin. He's going to be running against whoever the Republican nominee is, because, as you guys know, that's Paul Ryan's seat. But Paul Ryan's actually retiring after this term, so he's gonna see through the end of his term, and then, he's not going to run for re-election. So Randy Bryce was successful in being victorious in his race. He had a lot of energy for his campaign, and a lot of people were supporting him. And so he was, massively successful. Now, here is the thing about the other 2 elections. Now, Keith Ellison is going to be retiring from his seat. He's going to be leaving from his seat in Minnesota's 5th district. Now, the Democratic nominee for this seat, her name is Ilhan Omar, and she is actually a Somali American who came as a refugee. Now, my understanding is she's not going to be running unopposed. She's going to run against Republican Jennifer Zielinski, who won in a 3-way GOP primary in the general election. Now, I'm not sure who's going to win this one, because obviously Keith Ellison was a Democrat who was previously holding this, but we will see if she'll be able to win this. I hope she will, but there's some interesting stuff here. So, first of all, if Ilhan does actually win, she'll be the first ever Somali American congressional member, but she'll also be, she's also, she's with Rashida in that she would be the first Muslim woman who's a congressional member now. This article from CNN says Ilhan Omar, a progressive state legislator, will win the Democratic primary in Minnesota's 5th congressional district, CNN projects. It says, backed in a race by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Omar, who came to the U.S. more than 2 decades ago as a refugee, would become the first Somali-American member of Congress if she wins the seat left behind by Representative Keith Ellison, who is running for state attorney general in November. It says Omar is also on a path to arrive in Washington, D.C. next year with Michigan Democratic House nominee Rashida Tlaib, who is running unopposed in the fall to become the first Muslim woman in Congress. Tlaib campaigned alongside Omar this past weekend, days ahead of the primary. Quote, "We started this campaign to prove people are ready and willing to fight for an America that works for all of us. To every staff member, volunteer, donor, and voter, this win is just as much yours as it is mine. Together, we will move our district, state, and nation forward." So, obviously, she was a Justice Democrat, so she, ran on the campaign of $15 minimum wage and free college and abolishing ICE, etc., Medicare for all. All superbly important things, and she has fit the checklist. Now, here's the thing that I think that she may be able to bring to not only our Congress and our legislature, but hopefully it will reflect on public opinion as well, is she's going to sort of be changing what you could probably call the Overton window of our conversation about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, in which essentially pretty much there is, people who will just call you anti-Semitic if you are someone who's pro-Palestinian, or if you are, in any way critical of the Israeli government. Somehow you are anti-Semitic and not just critical of their actions and not disliking them because they're Jewish. But, here's what CNN says. It says, Omar has been an open critic of Israel's treatment of the Palestinians, calling its government the apartheid Israeli regime in a recent tweet, while vigorously denying charges of anti-Semitism, adding that her criticism is far from hating Jews. So having an actual pro-Palestinian congressional member will definitely, hopefully, shift the Overton window and the discussion window amongst not only the legislature, but amongst the people of the United States. I'm hoping that it reflects upon the people of the United States. So that is something that I think is very cool as well, and I'm very excited about that. Now, they didn't stop with making history there. Now, here is the Vermont gubernatorial race. It says Christine Hallquist will make history as first openly transgender major party nominee for governor, CNN projects. Now, what state is this? This is in Vermont. This is the state of Bernie Sanders, of course. It's a very, very blue state. Vermont's not going to go red. There's pretty much no chance of that happening. It's going to be pretty much just a cakewalk, to my understanding. So she's going to end up being the first transgender governor, which is really crazy, man. That's really huge. CNN says Christine Hallquist's bid to become the country's first transgender governor will clear an historic hurdle on Tuesday. Hallquist will win the Democratic primary in Vermont, becoming the first transgender gubernatorial nominee for a major political party, a breakthrough of both substantial and symbolic importance for LGBTQ Americans, in particular the trans community, which has for so long been shut out of the highest levels of elected office. So, they did not just stop with making history the first time around when I came back to you guys saying, hey, they've made history because there's going to be the first Muslim woman congressional member. They did not decide to stop there. They also now have somebody who is poised to possibly become the first Somali American congressional member. But now also, there's no way that the gubernatorial race is going to go red in Vermont. I mean, come on. It's blue state. It's Vermont. Vermont is not going, they're not going red. So you have clearly, you have Christine, who's going to end up being the first ever transgender governor. And if you think about it, really, I mean, transgender people really aren't very well represented in our legislature. And I feel like that ends up, being reflected amongst the the laws and different things in our country. And so it is cool to see that, we'll have a transgender governor, and I think it's a great step forward. But it's really, I mean, it's really crazy that it's really honestly very crazy that the Justice Democrats have not only managed to get incumbent, Democrats, they've also gotten a bunch of, elected Democrats, and they are literally making history. That is not an exaggeration, that is serious.